Hello and a warm welcome back to the Wendercast, your go-to weekly podcast concerning all things Metaverse Football League. As always, we're your hosts Jimbo and Calvinator, and we're going to be discussing the latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, and so much more what has gone on over the last week. One important note, none of what we chat about is financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. Season 1 fast approaches, Calva. Very fast.
Getting slightly nervous, I would say.
Yes, me too. So what are we going to cook up in store today for the listeners?
Yeah, so, season 1 is going to be new for all of us. It's going to be, I think, a lot of unexpected things happening. We don't really know what's going to happen. So I thought we are dropped a little bit into the wild and we need to survive. Everyone needs to find their ways how to deal with this new situation. So I thought we call this the survival strategies, season 1 survival strategies. And we are going to talk a bit about like what choices are we going to make? What are we going to plan? What else can you do? And also explain the new situation a little bit better. A little reminder, what's promotion, relegation, play progression. I was diving into the Medium post a bit more, and I actually discovered a couple things that I thought they changed a little bit the way I look at it right now, a bit my approach, I think. So we'll share them later when we talk about this main topic. So we'll be all about season 1, and when this airs, it's one more day, right? Yeah.
One more day.
It's Tuesday.
One more day.
And Wednesday, Jimbo, it's time to...
stream! Pack drop stream. I can't wait. So 5th of, I'm about to say December, getting ahead of myself now. 5th of November.
6th of November is a drop.
Is it 6th? Oh, yeah, 6th.
5th is the start of the season, and 6th is
I'm getting all my dates mixed up, mate. Beginning of the month sort of vibe. But yes, thank you for correcting me. 6th of November, the Wednesday, the Wendercast, streaming the pack drop, as we always do when it comes to pack drops in new season. So usual time, an hour before the drop starts, we'll bring the fun, bring the hype, and then once that drop opens, we'll get some packs, show them on the stream, and if you want to show yours on the stream as well, you are more than welcome to. Can't wait for it. Going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, definitely. Probably a lot of raffles in the chat. Probably will be some quizzes or definitely things to win stuff. So definitely tune in for that. And very curious about this drop, what people are going to do. Probably buy a ton of players to get ready for the season, and then you can sign them straight away. Now it's a bit weird void of like people have no players in the club. So for like a couple of days, it's like kind of the calm before the storm, and then 5th November, 6th November, we're going to go nuts, I think, and sign tons of players to the club. Yeah, so later in this episode, main topic, way more about season 1, and now let's start with the updates. So, Jimbo, what was your moment of the week?
I was trying long and hard to think of something here because we had the streams during the week and they were pretty successful. So thank you to all of you who tuned in for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. That was great. A lot of fun. And congratulations to Hot to Goal for winning the Community Clash event. And I think a word on that, I think the event format was super, super fun. Loads of people tuned into streams. I think everyone found the tournament itself very exciting, very entertaining throughout. I think it's a really nice format. And I hope to see it maybe come back for some sort of community event like that again. That'd be really, really neat. But my moment of the week, I think, was the fact that I managed to win myself a common player from the Zeely quest after only doing one quest throughout the whole time.
Wow, very efficient.
Lucas Mesh was like, Jimbo, you've won a common player. Congrats. I was like, I only did one quest, and that was pretty sure that's just to retweet the thingy. So I was happy with that. It was only turned out to be a 55 rated Georgian player who, as you can guess, can't pronounce the name. But yeah, I've not really got much to talk about for the moment of the week, to be honest, because it's been a very quiet one for myself, aside from the streaming and that.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about our Wenderk trauma that in that final match in the round of 32. I mean, I wouldn't say that's like our moment of the week. It was definitely a memorable moment, and We were very close. I don't know if you were tuning into the stream, but based on only cards, like one more red card we had in that final match, that we didn't progress. But we're not going to talk about it anymore. It's trauma now. We need to go to therapy for that. But I think my moment of the week I wrote down is like an own little splash, my own season 1 splash. So I was puzzling a little bit. What am I gonna do with my goal team, with the Corsairs? And I have a ton of great center backs. Like my high rares are mostly center backs. So I thought I should play them with 3 in the back.
Well,
but I bought another good right wing back. So I thought, let's just play with 5 in the back with wing backs. And then I need a good left one. And I remember there was this one guy who's been on the market for ages, this left wing back. Very good. 20-year-old Polish. Very nice pronounced, Jimbo. I don't know if you want to have a shot.
No, let's skip that.
But yeah, I thought he was very cheap, and I just he was $145, so it's, for me, that's quite a big splash. But he's 82 rated, 21 years old, great stats, and he fits perfectly in my season 1 strategy. Plus, I did some sales before, so I already filled up my Dapper wallet a little bit. What was my plan? It was a bit painful. I'm so attached to all my players. I don't want to sell anyone. But I was selling some lower uncommons, and now I could reinvest that in a bit more quality for my goal team. So to have that, my personal season 1 splash. Kazimierczak, what a legend. I think he will be terrifying left wing back in goal.
Oh dear. I think
keep an eye out for...
I'll be keeping an eye on his match, on his season rating, his match ratings as it go along. But
okay,
a nice little splash for you there, and slowly putting the pieces together for season 1, maybe.
Yes, I think I've been struggling a bit with that team. I think now 5-3-2. That's what we're gonna do. So with wingbacks, and I love the wingbacks. I think it's kind of unique because a lot of people don't like to play with them. So maybe I can specialize in that. That's my plan from now on. Okay, let's talk about dev updates. So season 1 begins November 5th. We just talked about it. And of course, the team is preparing for this moment. So all the contracts, the new feature needs to be ready. Also, the contracts have all been reset, so we're ready for the new contracts. And they chased some things in the app too, so they're all getting ready, gearing up for season 1. So the new contract feature is completed. The development center is also nearly finished and will be ready to use for the start of the season. So this probably means on the 5th we can already start using development center. So if you already know these low comments need to go there, you can send them straight away. New players have been minted. So for the pack drop on the 6th, but also for the store, for promotion packs. Around 5,000 new players have been minted, so quite a nice amount. Then Quentin has focused on the engine's balance, so that should also be ready for season 1. Really nice thing is that we got breakaway trophies after a lot of people were asking for it in the chat. Where's my trophy?
I think they baited us out completely. I think the intention was there all the time, maybe.
Yeah.
And they baited us out. I think maybe they baited us there.
Curious, well. Yeah, I think it's a great gesture anyway that they decided to do it. It's also like a little goodbye to Alpha, right? So now one more trophy and then season 1 starts. And the final thing from the dev updates were that there are some improved tables and checkboxes. And in the upcoming update, you'll be able to use the shift key to select or unselect a range of rows. So a bit more kind of convenient to use the app. Any other takeaways from you about this?
I just want to know when we get the engine update. I want to know when we can, I assume, hopefully, maybe just a couple of days after after this, we can sign contracts, because it'd be nice to start using the engine. Because at the moment, the only thing you can do is use the quests, right? And the quest is just players that you own, nothing to do with contracted players. So,
yeah, no, definitely, because before we talked about this so much. Like, I'm not gonna test because the engine is going to change anyway. Or I'm going to play balanced because the engine is changing so much. But now it's really going to matter. Relegation, promotion.
Yeah.
Like there's high stakes. So this is the time to really start testing stuff. So it needs to be ready, I think.
Yeah. Definitely in previous seasons, because I've not really changed my tactics over the last 2 years, but I changed them very slightly last year because I was going to keep them, but I ran tests on the new engine and I was getting quite drastically different results to what I was the last engine. So I still kept that 75% of my tactics, but I tweaked a few things and it worked. So I don't want to test, so I try and find the perfect setup and tactics. I almost want to test so I know if my tactics still work, which I guess you could argue, depends where you look at it, right? That's the same as just testing. But I'll probably run about 10 games against an equal opposition. If I start losing every one, I'll go, oh, hang on, I actually need to do testing here. I can't just run into next season with the same tactics.
It can really become like a big mindfuck also. Like,
yeah.
It's like it should work and then doesn't. And
you start panicking and you're like, oh, I'm in the mud if I can't get my tactics right.
Yeah, you can have a very unlucky streak with the testing that really messes you up. So, but yeah, at least this engine needs to be there. So hopefully 5th, like all the things are there to properly start season 1.
Yeah.
Okay, the Diamond update. Well, Diamond already finished. There was still the community clash. So I thought it would be maybe fun to look at that final round between the two alliances, Hot to Goal and First Place United. I don't know if they curse themselves by calling them First Place United to just fall short in the final round and also on goal difference. So it was also super close. Yeah. Well, you were commentating on that in the stream. So how close was it? Was it?
It was very close. There was the third game, which was Taggard's MFC Sportsman. There's a little bit of a joke between us two where we've used the phrase 7:30 and he's got no captain, and that's because I looked at his lineup and I went, hang on, Taggard, you've got no captain set. And I calculated his overall. I went, hang on, you've got 730 overall. Where's your captain? And he was like, oh, well, just completely forgot to and didn't realise it. So it sort of became a bit of a joke. Like, I think I said 730 and he's got no captain and started chanting it for a bit. And fortunately, he drew the game. And he said he would have captained his striker. And his striker nearly wet the bed a few times. And I was, constantly saying, if you would have captained him, then maybe you would have won. But it all came down to Dane and Palmer in that final game, and Hot to Goal just had to not lose to go through. They were drawing leading into it, and they were winning on goal difference. So as long as Otter FC, managed by Palmer, didn't win, then they were fine. And I think Dane went ahead 1-0, and then Palmer equalised, but it was a late equaliser, I think. It just, made it entertaining.
Yeah, we saw a lot of on the stream, like close matchups, really decided in the final game. So, indeed, you already said like we should have this back again. This kind of tournaments is really fun to have multiple people involved, also in the stream, watching this, counting on each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, congrats to Hot to Goal, and maybe we should also talk a little bit about the controversy of Joga Bonito. I don't know if you have an opinion about this. It was like
I've got no issues with it. I've got no issues with the tanking of players to fit a cap, because in theory I did it, not to the extremity that other people, legendaries, did it, but there were a few. I see the point being raised where if you have two fullbacks who are 25 and 30 rated, they should be being annihilated by even like 60 rated wingers because of how the exponential overall piece works with the engine. And I mean, that was Yoga Benito and his, when they won 2-0 in their final game. I think Barry Turner and is it Jeffrey Richards, I think his two strikers, you could just see that how quick their dots are moving, that they were just so much more overpowered. And I think, I've got no issues with it because it's clearly a feature and we've all done it in some regards to bring down the cap. But when it's to that extremity, it feels like there maybe should be a bit more of an influence with the engine. If you're a 25 rated player against a 65, you should be getting absolutely smacked as a fullback. You should be getting annihilated.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of, it's fair to complain about the engine. There's just some feedback like, guys, maybe look at this. Is this how it should be? But to kind of bitch about like, oh no, it's unfair. That's just my dad always had a saying like, "This is the game, those are the rules, and that's how it should be played." And everyone had the same rules, everyone had the same conditions, and I would say just kudos to Sturge for exploiting that.
Yeah,
and coming up with this smart way of using it. So fair enough.
100%, and it wasn't just Sturge, other people as well. I think Eric put in an example where he has his 92 rated goalkeeper and he captained him and he conceded 4 against 60 rated players or whatever. And he's like, it works both ways. And I think you could even argue that your strategy and our strategy of you giving your club to someone because it was better than his own one to use in the alliance, that's probably even more exploitation of the because you're literally giving.
Yes, I sold it for 1 cent to him.
Oh, and congratulations!
Huge. No, exactly. Like you always have some loopholes and you can use it. So it's better to complain about the system than people using the system. But I think in the end, people got that message, and it's just something they need to look into. But also, there were also loads of examples. We watched Genoa MFC beating Kevin's team, Dr. Matchbot's team, very confidently, and he did the same thing with his gold club. It goes both ways. You have to be,
it does go
and also set it up in the right way, so it's even a tactic thing. So
when you beat a team like that, you feel great, and you feel like that's how it should be. But when you lose to it, you feel really hard done by. I think that's probably the way. The extremities of emotions will go both ways.
I can totally imagine, but that's just you got outsmarted a little bit, but it is fair to look into a defender. Then some of those backs had 0 defense after the deduction. So if they have 0 defense, that should then be really 0 defense, right? Or is there some kind of baseline? So I can imagine you feel like that. But okay, they are looking into it. That's what Lucas said. So let's see what the investigation of the IMFF will be, what the report will be. Let's move to market moves. A great amount of people joined, 18 in total. So that's a nice new group of users. I'll read them all out. Shout out to Wallin, Orvents, Trading Places, Julius, Santello, Wargold, Pablo El Montana, Luzbek Santet, Patrick, Luke, Agnino, 80, Yongi, Romor, Sir Canassa, iFreezy, Hard Chaos, and Hasoi. And I put as new user of the week, Scavenger FC, or Chabo the Goat. He kind of changed his name throughout the week.
Chabo the Goat.
Chabo the Goat. He changed it from Chabo the Goat to Scavenger FC. So interesting. I like Chabo the Goat more, but he's from South Africa, so that's great.
Chabo the Goat sounds like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. Like Jabba the Hutt, Chabo the Goat. Yes.
Yeah, so he's from South Africa, and the user who just joined before we were recording the pod, Hasoi, is from Malaysia. So I wrote down, we're going even a bit more global every week. Some new countries are added, which is great to see that we get users from almost all over the globe. Then some market moves. I saw a lot of people sweeping floors. For Blender, he was really bulk buying. He has now 554 players. So it's also one of the bigger agencies. Black Lodge Sports, also a relatively new user, was sweeping some floors. Slav Mike, Jack Daniels, and Vulrak MFL Academy. So tons of player users doing that just before season 1. So they might have some kind of development center strategy, or just putting loads in ice and see who has potential, I guess. Rare players, Duff got, I would say, back kind of some good discount on 283 rated center backs, 145, 190. So some good quality impulses for one of his teams. Legendary players, Laro got an 86 cam from Mad Woman for 600 USD. And there were some more legendaries, but I'll let you talk about it later with Splash. And clubs, there was a lot going on. Interesting is that floors are dropping quite hard. Maybe we should talk about it in a second. So Kumba Gold Club from Cameroon was sold for 180 USD to Niako and by freaking Turkey. And Noé Sark bought a silver club van Charleroi from Tingus Pingus, Sambre Hart, for 120 USD. So I know both of them wanted to sell off some stuff, but they kept going lower and lower and lower until someone bought it at those two levels. So you can say the floor is dropping. So do you think people are a bit afraid here, with like relegation fears, and they
a little
don't
bit of
want to
that,
get in?
a little bit of people maybe selling clubs because they know season one's coming. Maybe don't want to play MFL, or they held them for a while and want to jump out. And also a piece of the promotion going on at the moment as well, with maybe a lot of people buying packs and not finding the place they want, so they want to like quick sell it to then maybe fund like another purchase or something else. They will do that. That happens quite a bit like when open packs for players sort of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I talked to Tingus and he's taking it a little bit easy, and he wants to just play it on more like a smaller ice club scale.
Yeah.
He's definitely not totally leaving. He just wants to kind of get a very tiny agency and run a tight ship there.
Yeah.
And Frequent Turkey, we know he was also selling a lot, but it's more that this floor kept dropping, right? That's like normally you would see people buying it and then holding it, but now if you cannot keep it up, it's going down and you lose the value. So I guess that's why it's dropping.
Some people as well might be looking to buy more clubs, but just going, well, if the value goes down by say $1 each time a club's listed, why don't I just wait a couple of days and it might be down to 50 or something like that? Or I can just get it. People might be holding off to buy clubs, but just flipped on the other side. I did a quick look on Alexis MFL Assistant and seen that over the last week there's been 56 clubs established, which I think is quite nice. So that probably coincides with the promotion. So those new users, those new clubs being purchased with the packs, with the promo, 56 new clubs being established is quite a nice number.
Yeah, and a bit more about it later, about this, what some people, it seems to be like a tactic to kind of sell a higher club, get into a lower level and then try to promote. But I think it's not the best strategy, but we'll talk about it in a second. And then finally, what was great to see, some kind of nice, what kind of almost an emotional MFL moment, is when a user gets his hometown team. So Slovmike got Boston Stone for 100 USD, Spice Weasel got Houston Ice, 60 USD, and Bastis got Marseille Ice. So 3 players got their hometown license. I know you're waiting for Norwich Ice.
I'm still waiting for Norwich one. I do check it daily in the air table, and it's not been picked up yet. So if you do get the Norwich one, let me know, and I'll happily take it off your hands.
I wonder if someone then is gonna raise that price, just you want it so bad.
I mean, I think what was it? I said I bought mine from Joe, my Norwich one from Joe B, because he packed it, and I can't remember what the pack price was then. $50 for the dual bronze and iron 154.
More.
80 maybe 80.
I think it was already 80 for iron bronze.
I think the floor was low, but I said, mate, I'll give you like 100 for it. He went, no, just give me the pack price. I was like, okay, cool. Okay. So I gave him that. I was more than happy. I was like, I want it. Yeah. And funny enough, I was actually walking around Norwich. I think we just finished a game as well. I was walking around Norwich. I was like, I've just seen Norwich play, and now I'm getting my Norwich club. This feels perfect.
Nice. So, time for
Splash of the Week. Pick it up with the legendaries again. Unfortunately, just before this episode, we're recording it, a new legendary purchase dropped in. So quick shout out to Crazy Colt for buying Bernard Geisler for $750. But unfortunately, Eric Barbaric has pipped you to the post by $75, my son. So, this week's Splash of the Week is by Eric, as just mentioned, purchasing a 90 rated centre mid by the name of Barakoma, a Senegalese midfielder, for $825. Purchasing him from Shredder Jeff. Maybe he goes to the gym, getting shredded like Jeff. 27 years old. I saw some conversations and some messages on Discord channels about, who's going to buy this granddad? He's quite old. Is that a sensible price? And, a couple of hours later, Eric Barbaric goes and drops $825 on him. So 90 dribbling, 95 passing, 81 shooting, 82 defending, 80 physical, and 72 pace. A very well-rounded player indeed. We'll just see how many years he's got on him. Hopefully, he's not an early retirer at 32, and you've at least get, at least 7-8 seasons on him.
That is also an interesting strategy debate. Like, is it worth it? But if he can help you finish high in Legendary and get a good cup run, it can really be beneficial for your whole agency, your whole club. So I don't think it's that bad to get some grandpas if they can help you with. And the good thing is that you feel maybe less pressured about this progression, right? Maybe you can sacrifice a bit. He's already old, so whatever. I just purely use him to make my team better. So I'm not totally against that.
Yeah,
I think it's a good move, and for such a amazing 95 passing, 90 dribbling, and still 82, those qualities for 825, 90 overall. Yeah, good deal.
Oh yeah, he's a very good player.
Yeah. Last thing of the updates, IRL MFL. You have a moment. I put a question mark here.
I've got a really
FPL thingies.
FPL, Man U, Chelsea just drew. Decent game. Obviously, Man United will soon to have a new coach, but I'll let you touch on that because I see that's your moment.
Yeah.
But there was a moment in... two quick moments within the English Football League. One where a Peterborough United played in the... I think it was an FA Cup qualification, or FA Cup round, actually. And a corner got put in. A defender own goals it, but the referee thought it hit the side netting, so he gives a corner, but the camera angle shows it clearly went in, and all the Peterborough players celebrated because they'd scored, but the ref thought it hit a hole through the side netting, even though there was no hole, and didn't give it as a goal, which is really, really weird. So if you want to go see that, go look at
That's
it.
Crazy.
And the second one was Preston North End versus Derby. The ball's bouncing, the goalkeeper goes to catch it, and he misses it, and the player runs through and scores. But on further replay, the Derby player touches it with his hand and pokes it out of his keeper's hands with his own hand. The referee doesn't see that either. So the standard
What's going on?
Honestly, mate, the standard of officiating in England, let alone the Championship and League One, League Two recently, has been diabolical. It has been absolutely atrocious. You think but the thing is, we all are in agreement that we would rather have shit referees than VAR. We'd rather have that. We don't care. The VAR thing, we don't want that in these lower divisions because it ruins it.
There was no VAR at those games.
No, none of those games. No.
So it was just the old days, and he made a big mistake.
Yeah.
But if you see everyone celebrating, and then you probably realize okay, probably I made a mistake, but then just to stick with it, that's just.
I don't know how the linesman
just admit your mistake,
because the
linesman exactly is admitted.
The first one where the ball goes in the net and the referee gives it as a corner rather than a goal. I don't know if it's on the linesman's side as well that he doesn't see it. But I just thought it was hilarious where there's just two absolute horrendous goalkeeping errors. I'm looking at the game now. It definitely didn't get counted, so it's hilarious. So yeah, bad officiating, mate. Hopefully, when refs, we can shout some abuse at the refs now rather than the engine. We can actually give it because basically the ref is the engine at this point. So we can give him absolute stick.
Blame it on the ref.
Yeah, blame it on the ref.
Yes. No, my moment was Ten Hag out. So finally, Man United fans they gave him a lot of credit. He spent so much millions, but he's finally gone. And Ruud van Nistelrooy, Dutch legend, is now managing for I think one more game next weekend, and then Amorim is there. But I thought we talked to Matt, and he said that delegation was short term, right? That delegating a club will be short term. And then I felt okay, so you will delegate to someone, you loan it out for a season, and then can you even fire mid-season, or how does it work? Can you even fire at the end of the season? So I'm just looking forward to the first MFL manager getting fired, or how that goes. How it will be.
Maybe a bit like contracts. There could be a clause within the delegation that says if you
If you
drop,
lose
if
so
you know
many,
within heart, with at least 50% games played within the league or the season, if you're in the relegation zone, the owner has the ability to axe you from the position. But then do you have to pay them out? Do you have to give them some MFL to get them out? You know how you got to pay the contract sort of thing.
could be
How does
another
that all
clause.
work? More clauses. It get a bit too complicated, but that's really interesting. Yeah, if you're the person delegating the club out to someone,
Yeah, then maybe in
what powers do you have?
the mid-season transfer window, you can put a new guy there. Like it could be, but let's see. Like now, the season IRL is starting. Usually, like around this time, a lot of managers are being fired. So I wonder if that is going to happen too in MFL. All right, main topic: season 1 survival strategies. So we're gonna talk. Yeah, it's not purely like how can you survive, like how can you survive the league, but it's also just how are you going to deal with all of this, all these new things. It's a whole new situation, so how are you going to handle that? So first we'll talk a little bit about what are the new things again, then talk about a couple of cases or debates that have been going on, or what should you do, what choice should you make, and then finally we end up with like what are our plans for tomorrow when this airs. What are we going to do or use, like how with our players, etc.
What are our strategies going into season 1?
Yes. So let's do a quick overview again of what is changing. I made 2 videos, one about player progression, one promotion relegation. So I did a deep dive into Medium. I did read everything, and I found a couple of cool things that I didn't know, but they really add some flavor. There you go. To managing your club and your players, both of it. So first about promotion relegation, we have 12 teams in the league, of course. The first team goes straight up, promotion. The second team does a playoff, one playoff, direct playoff against the number 2 of another league. And then the third team has to do 3 playoffs, but still has a chance to promote. Relegation, 3 teams, the bottom 3, relegate straight to the lower league below that, so 10, 11 and 12. And the 9th place has 1 playoff in order to survive. So now I come to the point that I found, I don't know if you know this, Jimbo, but about consistency and rivalries. Do you know what I'm talking about then?
Is it the consistency of like which leagues you, like the ladders you go up and down in? Do you say the same?
Yeah, so you are, in the video I said, like you're in one part of the pyramid, you're like in a tinier pyramid.
Yeah.
And you keep going up and down in that section. So this means that if you're, let's say, you're an iron club and you play 10 leagues, then you go up to bronze and you go back, you will encounter mostly the same teams. And this will create a lot of rivalries. So maybe Wensum is going to be connected to one of my iron clubs, and then we keep playing against each other each season. Would be fun, actually, for the Wendurcast also. So I didn't know that actually before, and I wonder if most people know this. But yeah, you'll be in the same area of the table, the same ladder. I like the ladder. I think it's a good one. You're in the same
I think it's
kind of ladder.
I do like that. The rivalry bit has always been sort of one of the really fun aspects of MFL. You know, you're always playing real people, but then when you're playing the same person over and over again, it's all about bragging rights. At the end of the day, can you beat your mate? Can you beat a fierce rival? And especially when, you know, your rival's being promoted, then they get relegated and you play them again. And, you know, who are they going to still be better? Are you going to overcome them? It's always very fun and entertaining.
Yeah. And it's really connected to this IRL, where it's also, of course, happens. So what was Norwich rival again? Ipswich or something?
Ipswich, yeah. They have not beaten us for 16 years.
There you go. So you can have the same in MFL, that one team never beats the. We can have like this Opta now, Opta MFL.
Opta MFL.
Like when someone's never beaten by this team in all their Iron League games, something like that. Yes. Okay. So about rewards, so we all saw the updated reward table. Go check that out. Also nice Medium post about it. There's been a bit of a discussion that it's not like as straightforward as that. The league above you always make more MFL in a higher league. Usually, the top four or like the fifth place is as much as the first place in the league below it. I think that's like the rule of thumb.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Maybe later we can do a bit like this debate. Last week we did a little bit of some moves also. This rewards debate. Like, is this good, smart? Does it incentivize promotion, relegation? But yeah, that's just a situation how it is right now. Is there some other thing we need to say about rewards, or is it just check the table?
Yeah, there's a table which shows all the rewards for the season. I guess slightly joined to that is kind of connected, but kind of not. The individual player pack prices won't be increasing, which is nice. So that means you're earning more rewards for being able to redeem those packs, which you can use for pack drops and everything like that as well.
Yeah.
Which people have been saying, like, when will the uncommon player packs be replenished? Then hopefully,
for myself, I kind of wrote down like what can you get with where you end in the league, like in the store. So say a random division and place. Okay, let's do it. Say some place, and I'll tell you what you can get in the store.
A random division, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might go really awkward for the first one. Bronze.
And then which place?
If you come first in bronze, you win the title.
Okay, then you can get 3 uncommon packs and 4 commons.
I'd say that's the most awkward one to start with, because probably some of the promoted teams in bronze will likely have rare players or very high uncommons. And then you've got to bank on, say, if you get 3 uncommon packs to get a high uncommon. And then, you've not got enough for a rare to maybe help with that silver. That's where it can be a little bit touchy. Whereas with iron, for example, if you come first in iron, you're 500 MFL off a double uncommon, which could quite help you into bronze. And maybe sit you up quite nice in the middle of bronze. And then I think it's all about, if you can promote and then stay in the division, that's when it becomes quite nice, if you can hold on to it.
Yeah, now of course you also can save a little bit and it'll maybe get your cup things and your other earnings. But yeah, it's just not enough for a rare. And in one season, only 4 spots, the top 4 in Diamond, can get you a legendary straight away, league finish. So, yeah, I might share this on Twitter later, but it's good to check out, like, kind of what can I get in the store after one season. Can I be kind of sustainable in that way with one finish?
Yeah, what you can get within one season of playing.
But
by itself, no, assuming contracts are 0, you own everything and you have no one contracted out, that sort of thing, which obviously can change the dynamics, and that's what you got to have other income streams, other MFL revenue streams to play. I think that's how you do it. Like side hustles in real life. You have your main one, which is your job, managing the club, but then you've got your other avenues of my side hustle of, drop shipping. But actually, it's me loaning out my players to other divisions.
But it's good that you reminded everyone that the prices in the store stay the same. So your purchasing power is going up by quite a bit. You can get way more players.
Triple P, purchasing power.
Purchasing power.
There we
players.
go.
Good hashtag.
Hashtag triple P.
Purchasing power players. For packs. Purchasing pack power. Something like that. Okay, play progression. So... yeah, that video took me like 15 minutes to really go through all of it. There's so many factors to this. So of course, everyone has their potential, like one number, which is like the maximum overall a player can reach. The prime age, so when do they reach 80% of their potential? This is also really interesting. So some players might be already like 21 and they already reach the prime age, and then they keep playing pretty much on that same level in their career, while others might be very late bloomers and then suddenly at the end start progressing more and reach like only late in their career when they're 30, for example. So this is also interesting. What is good to know is that each player has a unique path. And this is really complicated. So we have the 6 attributes, and then the way they earn XP for each attribute can be different. And that's how overall changes can be different. So I do advise everyone read the Medium post or 2 times. It's quite
3 times, 4 times,
4 times. It's quite complicated, but anyway, this whole system results that every player will have a unique path, and the way they earn XP for everything will be like for each attribute will be a little bit different. Also, it's harder for like higher overall, higher rarity players to progress than for common players, for example. That's also good to keep realizing. And one thing I didn't know that I also found in documents that before I never read or realized is that the match rating also plays quite a big role. You can get quite a big bonus from having a very good average match rating in that season. And also a malus, like you can get like a penalty for having very bad match rating, which affects play progression. So that's, you knew it before, or you read it?
Yeah.
Like good boy.
Yeah,
Good boy,
I hadn't. I knew that match rating affected the XP earned, but I wasn't really too familiar. I haven't looked at that chart for a long time, so I've got it back up on here again now.
So what is, if you have an 8? I think 8 is feasible. Might be feasible if you're,
I mean, 8 is feasible. 8's still for a season. 8 is for like, with this. So the chart they gave is the season average match rating because it's easiest to explain, and the season average match rating of 8 gives an XP bonus of 7%, which is very tasty. Nearly, you could argue an extra 10%.
No, it's nice. And later on, we can use that in our discussion about stacking or no stacking, because maybe if you have an OP team, everyone can get that bonus to offset a bit of the talent gap.
Yeah,
let's say. So maybe that might be a good thing to realize. More to say. Well, maybe we'll come back to play progression later. Some strategies. The contract. So what is changing is that now you have the clauses, of course. So that if you play a player like, I know, as a starter, as like 80% of the time, you pay, or as a club you pay more rev share. Do I say as well, or less rev share?
So you're saying the bit where you can have a clause in the contract that if the club does not abide by it, the club has to pay more revenue.
Yeah, more rev share. Yeah, exactly. Club pays more, and the agent gets then less because he benefits, of course.
And in the AMA they clarified as well that there is a system in place that prevents you from over allocating your MFL percentage earnings. It takes into account all of the clauses as well, which is quite nice. You've not got to in your head calculate, well, if I don't abide by 5 of these contracts, I have to give up an extra 10%. It's already baked into the numbers, so you can't over subscribe your own revenue. So not got to worry about that.
That's good. That's all. Yeah, it will get very complicated otherwise, of course. And the other thing is the multi-season one. I think I kind of like that you can just send them like 3-4 seasons at some club. It's almost like kind of a de facto development center. If you have some kind of ice club and you just send some comments there for like, I think that's how I'm gonna use it. Also a little spoiler for later. I think that's the 2 biggest changes: the clauses and the multi-season deals. I think the rest is not going to be there in season 1.
Yeah, and we got shown on the AMA on Thursday as well that the auto renewal is also its own clause as well, so that can be included and removed. So it's not like at the moment where it's like a little button and you tick it. It's actually a physical clause that gets included, and you remove it if you want to, you add it in if you want to, which is neat.
Good, nice.
So that stays there.
Yes. All right. So there was like a very short refresher reminder of what is actually changing. Again, do read the Medium posts, especially progression. I think that it's quite complicated. So many factors that kind of impact how a player is progressing.
Yeah.
So do read that. Now we're gonna speculate a little bit or debate some things about some strategies. What could you do? What should you do? What would we do? And then we'll also probably refer to those things. So I guess let's just start a little bit with that rewards debate again. So should you go for promotion, to promote, not promote? What would you do? Let's say let's take Wensum as a case study here.
I'm daft not to go for promotion. I want to win games. I want to get into the best league possible, and I want to earn the most rewards. Where do I earn the most rewards? In the league above me. I think that's simple as. I earn the most rewards in my league by coming first, and then I earn, yes, there's the point where then I finish bottom of bronze zone, you get the same as finishing like 6th or halfway in iron. But I think especially for those first couple of seasons, where how the pots and leagues are sorted initially, where there are definitely going to be a few teams in silver or bronze or iron who should not be there, they haven't got the strength to be, you can really capitalise and try and cement yourself in the league above by getting that quick promotion. I think a lot of people will want to do that because after 2 or 3 seasons, it could be an absolute mess trying to get promoted because the divisions are so equally strength after a while, unless you put in the extra cash to try and buy some more players, or you get lucky with your player drops. But then if you do get relegated and I come back into iron, I've had the rewards from bronze and iron to come back down. But to answer it really shortly, I want to get promoted. That's get the most rewards, and then that's the decision whether or not I get stay in the division. That's for when I get promoted. That I'm kicking the can down the road a bit here. That decision comes later on. But I guess the argument and the reason you're asking the question is, which other people have mentioned in the community, and quite rightfully so, in iron, for example, if you sit 4th every single season and never get promoted, you earn an uncommon player every season. Why not just sit there and just earn uncommon players? So it's a...
Yeah. Well, there's one truth I want to keep repeating. That is that relegation is easy, promotion is hard. So I think we have to keep that in mind for a couple of cases or questions we're going to talk about. So I think if you in general promoting is already really hard, but then if you get a chance, I would say just go with it. I don't think you also have a choice. So you get promoted if you're a league champion. Then you already get those higher rewards from that one season. And then within bronze, you can just, try your best. Plus, the talent gap for matches will be much better for progression.
100%.
So I think a lot of people kind of forget that aspect, is that then your play progression will get a nice boost, which then might make your players better.
Yeah.
And who can then help you be more competitive in bronze automatically.
Exactly. Yeah, getting promoted, you've got less penalties to worry about if you're a slightly weaker team in that division, because you're not having to worry about, is my player 10 overall better than his opposite position? No, there's a chance he's probably actually weaker. Therefore, I don't get penalised. Win-win. The only thing I really have to focus on then is the training gap, which you have control of. You don't have control of what your position does. Can focus on controlling. I'll mention this later, but focus on controlling the things that you. Have I worded that so badly? Focus on the aspects of MFL and club management and player progression that you can control. Don't worry about anyone else. Do your own game. Focus on you, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So for play progression, you might maybe you get a bit less rewards, but then it's compensated, I think, by that. And again, as you can have a very bad season in iron, accidentally end in 9th, have a very unlucky playoff, and then you find yourself a stone. So also just going to bronze, try it out there, will help you. not get relegated from Iron, maybe make you better as a team. That if you relegate from Bronze straight away, you're also stronger. Iron team, I think you come out stronger out of that.
Yeah.
Usually, that's what happens, and you can bounce back. Let's say. Then the other big debate is like, if you then want to get promoted, should you stack or not stack? Should you then sacrifice some progression for promotion or a higher finish? So
I think we
would
probably
you
need
stack?
to probably agree on what stacking is defined as in terms of overall. Is it where your players are, above overall by like at least 8 compared to
No,
the
this
rest
is
of
fair. It's fair.
big.
So I would, maybe we can start with the term the slide stacking and the super stacking or something.
super
Super stacking.
super.
But yeah, if you look at the talent gap thing, that table, it's like the super stacking. I think it's 20 overall gap. That's like 0% match XP.
For
Maybe you can check.
hang on, let me just double check. For match XP, the penalty for 20 or more is 90 to 100%.
Yeah, so almost everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's call that as super stacking.
Yeah.
So that is, then you totally sacrifice almost all match XP and probably also quite some trading XP with some very good players. So that, I think, is never smart to do.
I mean, even 15 is 75% match penalty, which I'd even consider that super stacking.
Yes,
75%.
Well, what would be a slide stack? Like 5 overall better than opposition. I think that's still. Then you're still quite OP. I think. I think
if it against other people, maybe 5, 6 is stacking, but maybe if your whole club, but with the training gap, I think 5, 6 is kind of okay. But it's when you're playing other people, that's when it's considered stacking, I think.
Yeah, but then what is the penalty for 5, 6? Overall against the opposition.
Against opposition, so the player overall difference is 6. It's 17% penalty, or minus 17%. Sorry, all of these are minuses, by the way. Minus 17% penalty in match XP.
Yeah, so I think with let's call that a slide stacking. I think that is still acceptable if you want to get a quick promotion, and then, as I mentioned before, you can kind of compensate with this in some ways. So you can get more XP for your players with the match rating. So obviously, if you're such a slightly stacked team, you're gonna do well. You're gonna have higher match rating, so that can get a little bit back, I think, of that XP.
Yeah.
And a good cup run also can offset the loss. So
yeah.
then also, if you do well in the cup. So there's like a couple of, like, in the end, you could almost still get 100% with your regular starters, I think.
I
with
think
slide stacking.
A way that I may be thinking of it is that if you want to stack for like one single promotion rather than 2, because I feel like maybe 2 seasons of hindering player progression sounds like too much, but if you're only sacrificing 1 season, then maybe that is not so bad. Could you then loan out your really high-rated players for a season, get promoted without them, and then bring them back in? I don't know. It depends. Is 2 seasons too much to give up for player progression? Is that your motive? Do you just want to win and earn? Do you not want to progress? There's so many ways of looking at it.
Yeah, but if you promote, of course, in the higher division, that talent gap is already a bit smaller than with the same.
Oh
group.
Yeah.
So you then also it's already a bit less worse. A bit less worse. I don't know. I can't speak English anymore. But so I think a slide stack. I think you can do that, and the amount of progression you lose is still acceptable. Maybe 10%. I think that's still okay. But okay, that is kind of stacking for promotion. Then we can also talk about avoiding relegation. So I'll say my line again. Relegation is easy, promotion is hard. So I think at all costs you should try to avoid relegation.
Mm-hmm.
then should you kind of stack for that? I think, well, you don't have to stack. I think if you're a good manager, you'll always have a good, you're not gonna have the talent gap with other opposition. I think, right?
I think in the first season, how the previous alpha seasons have gone, and the amount of variance in terms of teams and clubs that you've played against, and seeing what's out there in terms of your division. Obviously, things can completely change, but you may get a sense of idea from the people who own all their players. I think going into the first season, which will arguably have the biggest range of, we'll call it, I was going to say strength to shit, strong to poor, strong to weak in terms of the strength of clubs. You'll probably know if you're going to get relegated beforehand, I think. Some people will go, do you know what, I don't think I've got enough this season to go into it. I think within a couple of games, people will know. It may even be before a ball's even kicked. So I think before a ball's kicked, one club will know I'm getting relegated this season because they just haven't got the strength there. But I completely agree with you. Your focus, regardless if you think you're the favourite, should be just not get relegated.
Yeah.
Because it then becomes it so quickly can snowball into your club just goes into free fall and you just
I think so,
tumble
yeah.
down.
I think it's like once you're down there, it's kind of you're in this boggy marsh and it's hard to get out, because if you don't become a champion, which can happen, then you have to go into a playoff, which is already a toss-up, or even third place is like 3 playoff rounds against quite strong teams.
Yeah.
So you really, shouldn't kind of that, and that's also my next point. What I was talking with the club sales, that I feel like some people are trading down a little bit. They're like, oh, I want to go from iron to stone or stone to ice, and then I'll get a bit more budget and I'll go up straight.
I think they're people managing their risk. If you're on the bottom division, there's not much risk. What can you lose? If you're in ice, you don't get relegated at the moment. If you're in stone, you only get relegated to one division. But if you're in silver or gold, you could come down a couple of divisions, and it could get quite ugly. So I think maybe that's what's happening at the moment with some of the prices of
I think people are afraid of that. But if you have a shot, I wouldn't do it. I think it's a bit dumb, because promotion is so hard if you look at it, that I think it's a bit, you're taking a bit too much risk, and you think, okay, with a strong enough side I can go up, but there will be in another league another strong side and you have to do a playoff against them.
Mm-hmm.
And with the pot system, that you have at least 3 kind of similar strong teams, then you have to already have kind of at least 2 competitors who are probably quite strong.
Yeah.
So I would stick with like, try to avoid at all costs, stick with your division and just survive. That's what you should do.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's move on from the whole promotion relegation and focus a bit more on progression. So, as a manager, how can you build a squad and still try to get max progression out of most guys? Have you thought about that for Wenson?
Yeah, so I was doing a bit today, actually. I'm going to have to contract in a few players because I've not got enough to fill my squad, and that's how I want to run the Wyverns. But I was looking at the makeup and the average of my top 16. And like I said a couple minutes ago, focus on the things you control with player progression, such as the training, what's the actual the name?
The talent gap.
The talent gap for training. Yeah, I don't know. It was the training talent gap, where and that's all about the variance of overall within your own club. And the key bit is that players earn XP from training. The XP they earn is adjusted based on their individual overall rating compared to the average overall of the top 16 players in your club. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my top 16 players and finding out the average, which at the moment is 69.9, 70.1, and going, right, I've got 70 here. I then look at the training talent gap table and I go, what penalty XP am I happy with happening to my players? Am I happy with 8% every training? Probably not. 8 or minus 8%? Probably not. So that's a minus 8% penalty is a player overall difference of 8. So above 8 more than that top 16. But for me personally, I don't mind, between like a 2, 3, 4% penalty. I think that's okay. If I want to be a strong team and get promoted, 2 or 3%, I don't mind, and that's a player overall difference of between 4 to 6, which actually then, if I've got my overall top 16 or my top 16 average of 70, that means the highest I'm going to really go for is 74. So they're the sort of things that I'm considering. For me personally, it's that training talent gap, which you have control over how that looks with regards to progression.
Yeah, so, and this is like your base, kind of like a decent basis of XP that all players can already get for just being there, for being at the club.
Yeah.
So it would be a bit dumb, to have huge differences within your team and throw it out of the window. It seems like a very easy way of getting XP, getting that 50%, and the other 50 is the matches. So to at least have that well done, like to have kind of a pretty similar group of guys. And you can have 4 to... I would also pay that, if it's 4 to 6 is... If I need it, that kind of percent is all right.
Yeah. I mean, even an overall difference of 6 means if I'm a top 16 of 70 and I've got a 76 rated player in my squad, if I'm not getting promoted in Iron with a 76 rated player, if it's a striker or goalkeeper, then that's when I'll be concerned about, have I got the right players? Have I got the right tactics? That sort of thing. Because you should be doing well with a 76 rated player in, if he's not getting good match ratings as well, he needs to get the boot. But yeah.
And what about the match XP also depends on the starters? Are you like a starter? Are you a rotation player? How are you going to manage that?
We know that every club will have a minimum of 28 games a season because you're in 12-man leagues. You can't play each other. You can't play yourself twice. Therefore, you play 22 games, 11 home, 11 away. You then get at least 6 cup games, 3 home, 3 away. So you get 28 games minimum a season. So I guess when we look at player progression, as a baseline, we want to look at 28 games. Anything else is a bonus, and that helps. And you want to strive to get out of the cups to get more games. And we know that for player development, base match XP of 100%, or around 100%, is if you play 80% of the matches. So if you want to hit 80% of those 28 matches, that's 22 games a season. Which, for Wyverns as an example, my starters would only usually play about 19 games. So I know straight away for me, I'm going to have to probably change how I rotate my players. And I think I'm going to have to adjust my expectations to how low I let that fatigue level drop. At the moment, I never let it drop below 91, 92%. I think I might have to let it drop to about 89%, 80, 88%, whilst also paying more attention to the physical rating of players that I bring into the club.
There's many things you need to think about.
There's many things to consider about, but for me, it's the two things we need to consider at the moment: how low I let fatigue go before I rotate, and the physical rating of players, because that's the one that's the key stat that influences fatigue, which influences rotation, which influences match played, which influences the player progression for the season. So they're all connected.
Yeah, it's all tied together, But I want to do. I was already doing this pretty much, like very lean squads, like kind of 18, 19 guys, and this continuous rotation, like having 3 strikers, playing 2 at a time, and then keep rotating with that. So I think that would work out pretty fine at everyone, or you get to 80% or like just below, which is still pretty decent amount. Like what you don't want is to have guys who barely play. That's lethal for their match XP. You don't want that. So I guess I would also go for very lean squads, 18 players, and keep rotating them.
Lean squad.
Yeah.
I think you've got to go for the big squad. I think you've got to go max squad.
Why max squad?
I think you've got to
For
go.
me, it makes no sense.
I think well, it depends. If you're focused on progression, then yeah, you go for a slightly leaner squad. But also, do you ever thought the strategy with having like the higher aged players and using them as sort of like fodder? So you just, their bang average rating, but they're old, 27, 28, considering old here. Do you just sacrifice their player progression for the younger guys?
Maybe in some cases, like if I have a very young striker and a bit older striker, I might play the younger a bit more, even though he's a bit worse. That could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's better to just have this lean squad and keep playing them, and maybe then prefer a bit the younger one over the older one. But in general, I also want to do some discovery of potential and kind of have everyone like a pretty decent chance at progression, and then see kind of who are the real talents here, and maybe start giving them better treatment. Let's say to have at least 80%.
It will definitely be a lot of learning for the first couple seasons. And I think managers should be aware that you will not be able to perfect player progression. There's far too many variables that are out of your control and out of your hands. You're not going to get player progression perfect. I'm not going to get it perfect. Calva, if you get it perfect, congrats.
It's also impossible. You cannot give all your players 100% progression. That's like a pipe dream. Like, you cannot do that. You have to sacrifice it for some players. Like, this opportunity is a bit like opportunity cost. Like, you have to. There's no other way. So you cannot have it all. Of course, you can choose which player will get less XP, but you have to make choices. So, put it out of your mind that there is some kind of perfect way. And I think it will drive you crazy if you focus too much on it. And the result of the club is also just important. And the progression system is so unique and unpredictable that sometimes it might also trick you, I think. So with that prime age, maybe some guys has he goes up 5 points within 4 seasons. And then you think you have the next Messi. But what if his prime age is 21 and he only gets 1 more point after that? And then you start pouring so many resources and creating the perfect environment for them.
Yeah.
And then his prime age was just super early. And that's it. That was his progression.
Yeah.
Right? So then you can kind of go drive yourself crazy. Like, you just keep it cool. Some people, late bloomers, early bloomers.
Oh, yeah.
Don't focus just on one player. I guess try to do a decent job for the biggest amount of players. I think that is the main take. Like, you cannot do 100% for everyone. You can maybe do it for a couple of guys, but try to do it at least 80% for all of your players, I guess. And then that's how you have a very decent, kind of rewarding progression experience, I think.
Yeah. So, in your mind, then, when it comes to the base XP, from how many matches they play and things like that, if 80% being an important player gets you roughly about 100% XP, is that the minimum? Is that the baseline that you want, or are you happy to go down to 90% base XP, which could be 75% of games played, 70% of games played? What's like whereabouts will you be Because also this why that question is important is because that's where you're going to be looking at the clauses for the contracts and calculating. Well, actually, am I okay with 90%?
Well, for my own teams, I think yes. I think what I just said, like I think it will drive you insane to try to make everyone get just at 80 or 100, or I think that 80-90% XP is still good enough overall. Like in the end of their career, okay, they just gotta miss out on 1 or 2 points, but still they progress, they still do well. So good enough for me. But for the guys I loan out, of course I want them to be more than 80%. And I will try to stimulate that and give incentives to club owners to do that. But yeah, in my own clubs, I'm also focused on results and just avoiding relegation, getting promotion.
It's a result,
and I'm okay with sacrificing some XP for that to just get the best results, get the most MFL out of it, and then that can also give me then more players and more opportunities at progression.
Yeah.
So I don't think my thinking is that like don't go too crazy on the progression. It'll drive you nuts.
Yeah, I think because you mentioned and what you spoke about earlier about how every path is unique.
Yeah.
Then sometimes trying to identify progression and the trends can be quite difficult. But one thing you probably can look at, which you touched on a second ago as well, is that prime age. And like you said, early bloomers, late bloomers. After a few seasons, you might be able to try and pick up on some statistical trends, how I can maybe tell if this person's an early prime ager versus a late prime ager. So you can you won't be able to understand the unique path because they're all unique, anyone's guess. But maybe you can try and better guess if they're early or late, and I can help you with.
But yeah, that will still be hard because
it will still be hard, but it will definitely be. I think you're not going to get player progression perfect.
No, I think that's the
and there's the opportunity cost of player progression or results, and I think most people will probably pick results over player progression. I think that's the way to go. And again, with this early late bloomer, maybe in your first 2 seasons you see this one guy doing very well. Let's say you have 2 strikers, this one guy is progressing, the other one's not. Then you pick him as your first striker and you create optimal conditions for him. And then he doesn't progress anymore because he's an early bloomer, while that other guy you sacrifice XP while he is the late bloomer who suddenly shoots up like crazy. Because he has a high potential and he is a late prime age. So there's so much possibilities and randomness. I think if you try to keep track of that, it can only upset maybe your results and tactics and mess too much. But I think that's my attitude right now to it. Maybe I'll change. Yeah.
So I think the priorities then for me are really first the results, first the promotion, first relegation, have this decent environment for play progression, go for the 80-90%, ideally 100, but I'm not gonna change things around to achieve it.
Yeah, you're not gonna lose sleep over not getting him to
I'm not gonna lose
over
exactly. I'm
99
just
or
80-90 is fine. Focus more on the club, and then that's how I go into season 1, I guess.
Yeah.
And while the loaning out, maybe we didn't talk a bit about loaning out and like an agent strategy. For the loaning out, I would put some clauses in there to get that 80%. I want to incentivize people to do that. Especially for the goalies, that they need to be first goalies. Try to talk to, with all my goalies, the guys who get them that they should be starters. Otherwise, their progression really has a big problem for goalies, I think. So
I've got a quick question for you then, actually, because I know this will be a loaning out process you're going to have to do. You've got your very young rated legendary centre back, correct?
Yes.
It was a surname Matthews, is it?
Matthews, Virgil Matthews.
17 years old.
17 years old. Sentiment. Yeah.
What rating is he again?
85.
Whereabouts are you putting him? Whereabouts do you want to put him?
Well, as a starter. So if someone can promise
But
me, he will
so
be.
so do you think that's realistically in platinum, or do you think that's in diamond?
I think in diamond lower end also. Yeah, it's a bit like also. Then do you want to have more the MFL out of it or more the max progression out of him? I guess I'm okay with a bit MFL, with a less MFL if he gets the starts all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
but yeah, I would have to talk to the manager.
I guess the reason I asked
put a
that
clause.
is because maybe for you it might be better to put him in like a strong plat side to get promoted rather than a weak diamond side to get relegated. And then I think relegating from diamond is probably the hardest position to be in to get back.
Yeah, and
get
it's less
again.
MFL as we just talked about. So maybe high platinum might be smart to do with this guy.
Yeah, and I guess it's also where just before we finish up, I think it's really interesting how the dynamic will look with regards to loaning out players, depending if you're loaning out to a club above. I don't know how to say this. If let me just think about this for a second.
You rephrase it.
If you're right, so for example, I might not include this. It depends how it actually fits. Or not. It depends if it makes sense or not. How? Let's just consider yourself. You've got a gold club, correct?
Yes.
And you've got your silver club. So you consider yourself a silver gold manager.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think you have more negotiating power trying to loan a younger player and less overall player out to a lower division than you do trying to put Matthews up to a higher division because of whereabouts you sit? Do you think you have the same control over negotiations? Because you're loaning a player up to get MFL.
Yeah.
Because you want the MFL.
Yeah.
But you're in a position with Virgil Matthews where he is a low-rated legendary and he's really young. So you want max progression, but you also want a decent amount of MFL.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Who has like the more power in that negotiation if you're going upwards compared to going downwards?
Yeah, interesting.
Do you see
I think if from another perspective, what I kind of the final point I want to make. So I just talked about how I'll do the club. So kind of how I'll run my clubs with that lean squad, constant rotation, that all of that, and sacrifice a bit of XP. But I think that really, with especially the commons, I'm just gonna give them super low rev shares, maybe even 1%, maybe, as long as they play a lot. I just want them to play a lot. So yeah, that's what you said about like, if you care more about that progression, you don't care so much about MFL. You say whatever, just have this guy for 1%, maybe 0.5, as long as you start this guy. So to offer really incentives and to use it as this kind of de facto development center. Development center, you have to pay for it, but instead of spending
MFL,
spoken
about that yet.
We haven't spoken, but also we don't know the price yet, I think. So it's a bit hard to talk about it. But why not earn a little bit of it, a little bit of MFL, while getting max promotion and just put a huge incentive on those guys that ice clubs, stone clubs, play them, pick them up. I think that's what I'm going to do. So in the Virgil debate, I'm also like, okay, it could be a really nice chunk of MFL. So indeed, you have like two competing things. But I think in the end, I'll find a nice spot for him in plat for decent ref and that he can start. I think that's feasible.
Yeah, I agree. Send the low ones out.
Yeah,
for little rev checks.
To have like kind of have a couple of managers who function as your development center, as your the feeder club, the parent club, as the
like the reverse
satellite club.
Yeah, you'd say the feeder club. Yeah,
feeder club. Yeah, it's just. I think that's kind of create your own development centers. That's what I'm trying to do, and those are free.
What my final piece of advice before we get into the hashtag of this episode is, if you can, get your business done early. I can't stress this enough. I know I will probably fall victim of my own advice and probably not do it early, but I'm hoping to get it all done within the first 3-4 days. Why? One, because the talent gets swooped up, and two, you'll start panicking if not. there's a, when you want to get deals done at the end of the transfer window, you always don't get the players you quite want, quite fit in, fit your club and things like that. And you maybe have to give more MFL and have some bad clauses to fit them in. Get your business done early, people. Get it done early. And don't stress. Get it all done and just sit back in your chair and relax while the chaos of everyone else trying to get last-minute deals happens.
Early bird gets the worm.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
The
early manager gets the player.
Many hashtags, I think. But yeah, I think it's definitely time to finish up. I hope it was useful for some people to kind of speculate about some strategies, the promotion, relegation, play progression, squad building, rotation. I think we touched upon kind of good things.
It's been a little bit of a longer one today, and to prove that you've been listening, the hashtag for today's episode is #earlyworm. Early bird gets the worm. Merge those two bits together. Early worm. Early player. #earlyworm. A big shout out to a few of you who posted the hashtag on Twitter as well. You know who you are. The hashtag DevGel got quite a bit of traction, even with some graphics being made by Ronjon, which I found was quite funny. At one point, I thought maybe we'd gone too far and people outside MFL thought the devs were in jail, maybe, but no, we just meant like the development center jail. Well, I thought it was very funny. So #earlyworm. Good luck with the start of season 1 in terms of getting in your players and contracting them and the pack drop. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday the 6th of November for the pack drop. Quiz will be there, ! raffle, you name it. It's going to be a blooming good time. So from all of us here at the Wendirtcast, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you this time next week for an episode of the Wendirtcast. Thank you for listening.